this term high achieving women, and I have used it plenty of times, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't. It's one of those, again, another term that's being overly used in order to determine a woman's capacity. And so when I think about high achieving women, I think about women who have goals and they're not afraid to, I don't use the word chase. I would say to structure and to strategize their life in order to achieve those goals. And it's because there is this inner voice that is guiding them. I would say it's spiritual because people who are attracted to me are mostly highly spiritually intelligent, advanced beings and come from many places in their awakening. And through this process of moving through your life experiences, there is there's an element in our blueprint that just drives us to do to looks like it looks like we're doing more than others, and it's just normal for us. And most people live below the standard that their highest form of self is calling them to rise in. Write that down. So when they see somebody else who is in proximity to them make these moves that could look hard, that could look challenging, and they are hard and they are challenging, and actually get to the other side, it could either inspire them or it could trigger them. And so I've been in circles of women many times because I have always yearned to be around other powerful women, women who we are all functioning from the same level of capacity in ourselves, and we motivate each other and we encourage each other. We remind each other of our strengths, of how brilliant we are, and we're building together as tribe. And I've always yearned for that sisterhood because to me, that is real sisterhood. So I would put myself in, certain women circles. And what I would find is that I would be the strong one up in there. And I know I'm not the only person that feels this way. And it's not because I feel like I am better or I have arrived. It's just that I know myself. And I know that there's some levels of my experience that I have completed. And I'm not interested in opening that back up, no matter what other people are struggling with. It's like I can see it for what it is, and I'm not going to absorb that. And so from the outside looking in, it looks like there's this hierarchy. There's a woman there that thinks she knows better, thinks she has arrived. It's like, no, I just have arrived inside of myself. And I refuse to shrink myself because my arrival inside of self may intimidate you. And a lot of women who are powerful, who are strong, who are articulate, and they're functioning from a certain position in their life. That could be a position that is of authority in their business, in their jobs. What's really sad and what I continue to see is other women that try to take them down because their light and their essence is quote unquote too much. And at the same time and in the same breath, you want sisterhood. And you're not understanding you're playing in to the psychological bondage that you claim you have mastered or that you are so against. The patriarch wants us to argue and debate with each other. That's what that systematical conditioning feeds off of. And that type of behavior feeds right into the system. And so I have been through many instances where I had to remove myself from friendships, from circles, because of that energy. And I am going to say it. I even had some students in my school when I used to, as most of you all should know by now, I used to have a shamanic methodology school called Ecology of Shamanism. And women would come into that space inspired, but throughout the process, they would try to compete and would say things passively, like women do in that conscious state. They say things passively, maliciously, that I always find out about. And I had to remove those women from the school. And it's sad. Like you paid money to come into this space because obviously there was something that I said that connected you in the space. Now you're comparing yourself to me. And that's the thing. You should not be comparing yourself to anybody else. And I am that type of mentor, that teacher that always reminds you it's you versus you. And I am a guide to that. So I'm always going to point it back to you. And whatever it is that I am doing should inspire, if anything. It should make you think more deeply about your choices. And there's a reason why we encountered each other, to learn from each other, to grow from each other, to love one another, as what people say sisterhood is supposed to be. But I see this constant theme come up, not just only in the spiritual spaces, comes up in the business spaces. Some of you all may have um, watched when Emma Grede, she's a powerful businesswoman, billionaire. She came out with a book called Start With Yourself. And she's not preaching the basic understanding of business. She was talking about the real, the raw, the ugly, and also the beauty and the joy that a woman should, who is business oriented, who is an entrepreneur, should be focused on in her perspective. And she kept on saying, this is my perspective. This is my life. This is how I grew into the woman that I am today. And completely and utterly happy with where she's at. And she didn't make it uh, a way where it was positive, and I think when you're struggling internally, you're looking for positive, 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 positive. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as a full positive life because now you're going against the laws. There's always laws at play. And so when she explained her take, I applauded her because I have never heard a woman that is in that position break down business and wisdom that the way she did. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of women get together and start bashing her and start debating her lifestyle, her life choices, skipping the whole concept of this woman just wrote like a business book for women in mind. Like that's her contribution. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And I'm just using her as an example, but I have seen this play out in many, many spaces. And what we have to realize is that it doesn't get us anywhere. It continues to feed the cycle over and over again. So if you're watching this in Zoom or if you're watching this live, comment. Tell me if you have been in this space where, again, you're not trying to go there to prove anything, but you see yourself in this space where there is a disconnection in living in the victimhood of life because you have chosen to actually show up in yours. And also share your experiences if you ever felt kind of like an outcast because of that. I really would like to know. And so as we move into where we're at today, a lot of women who are functioning from those spaces consciously, I feel, again, and I believe we're looking for our tribe. We're like, where's the strong women at? Where's the women who are successful? Where's the women who will actually hold me accountable to my bullshit? Where's those women? Because that's how you build empires. That's how you lead communities into freedom. And going back into the spiritual communities, I feel like we have gotten away from that so much. It's like anytime when there is something that ignites and empowers or helps women retrieve their power in a way where it's strong and it's got that warrior energy behind it, other women completely resist it. And I have experienced all of this. Oh, it's just a time for women to rest and settle and soften. We can do that. We could do both. Who said we can't do both? Why does it got to be one or the other? Why can't we do both? And that's extremism. Just like feminism is extremism. I'm not interested in being a feminist. And I'm not interested in extreme. I'm interested in balance and harmony and living in that within self to stay steady in that. And there's going to be seasons, y'all, where there's that softness, there's that rest, there's that time of rejuvenation. And there's going to be seasons where your higher self, if that's what you want to call it, the divine, the supreme, is going to say, get your ass up and let's get to work. And so you got to choose the signal of that or choose the noise of what everybody else is doing. And there was something that I'm sure you all heard before when it comes to setting yourself up for success. And success may look different to everyone. It is much more room. There's plenty of room on top, and it's very crowded at the bottom. And I have heard that so many times, but it really hit me these last couple of months in regards to that's just how I naturally function. And the reason being is because when I played in that world of the bottom, I realized that I was constantly playing in the commodity market versus the premium market. So you may be wondering, well, what's the difference between commodity market and premium market? Commodity market is, we'll just call it Walmart, Target, dollar store, franchises, if you will. They sell the same thing, but in order to sell more, they have to do comparison. And whatever's cheaper is what the consumer who is functioning from the commodity consciousness, because it's a conscious state, they're going to buy. That's why Walmart is popular. And then people make fun of the word Target, say Target, because that's for people, that's like a bougier Walmart. And then you have the poverty mindset, which is linked to the dollar store. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're defended by anything I'm saying, it's not to make you feel bad. It's for you to understand the different levels of conscious states, right? And there's nothing wrong with going into those places. I really want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong going to Walmart, going to Target, going to the dollar store. But having a level of awareness as to why you're choosing to shop in those places. And it could be because, listen, they just got what you want. So cool, get it. And then that's it. That's totally it. However, as a businesswoman, and a person who is a practitioner, let me rewind. Let's go into the practitioner for a moment. As a practitioner who is still offering their gifts, which I just shake my head, they're offering their gifts in the commodity space. Notice that you are constantly comparing your rates. 9 times out of 10, you're undercharging. You're looking at what somebody else is doing and mimicking what they're doing. You don't have your own unique framework, your own methodologies. And you are in constant chasing of clients and of people to come into your spaces because you're playing in a commodity consciousness. And there's no structure there. If it's a bare minimum of structure, you may have little link tree or something like that, maybe even have a little calendar or other calendars set up, but you haven't built the ecosystem in order to level up, in order to really build your temple. And that's a reflection of what's going on internally, just so you know, because it's not separate. And so you are constantly exhausted, depleted, looking at your bank account, seeing how much it is in there. You can't move how you want to move because everything is based on surges of income, is what I call it. And I know this very well because I have done it. I'm speaking from experience, and it was exhausting. It was depleting and was totally against my nature. And so then you get on Instagram, you get on these social medias, outlets, and what they do, they applaud you. They say it's okay, you know, and you have a lot of healers online that is performing healing so they can attract clients. So therefore, what are you really signing up for? And then the people who are signing up, they're signing up in that same level of a mindset. And so no matter what they have to offer, what they're giving you, what medicine they're giving you, they haven't reached a higher tier of themselves to guide you into that higher level of self because they're playing around in the same market. So the transformation doesn't hold, it doesn't land. And then you go to another space, another healer. And I even see this happen with mentors and teachers. You go find the one that you can afford. And that is a trap, which I'm going to explain. Then you have people who function from the premium mindset. And that's just what I'm calling it. I'm calling it premium mindset for right now. It could change. So the premium mindset is someone who has taken themselves out of that psychological bondage. They freed themselves from that level of behavior. And they start tuning in to their gifts, realizing that these gifts are meant for them to offer in abundance so they could thrive and have a huge impact in people's lives because the abundance is what's carrying that frequency. It carries over in everything that you do. Then you go deeper into self and you start tapping into your own blueprint, your own methodologies, your own frameworks, language and systems that were given to you through inheritance of your ancestors. And this is how I came up with the elemental ancestral code. You can't find it anywhere. You can't find it anywhere unless you come into my apprenticeship and I teach you it, which is, that's a whole nother conversation. But that framework is based upon my inner technology of self. And so now you formulate those external tools with a foundation of your own blueprint. That's premium. And when you tap into that, it's like you're allergic to the commodity market. So you begin to see the value in what you're doing. Now you raise the floor. You raise the bar of self. You raise your prices to match your value. And it's not about because I'm worth it. It's knowing that I just am. And anything that you do is elegant. It's what I like to call Ivy League type of offerings, healings, because you're no longer in that loop of exhaustion and depletion that keeps you comparing and marketing yourself in a way that is less. And now you attract the people who align to that frequency because you're in alignment with your frequency, with your value. It's clean. And wealth likes clean. Wealth likes precision, systems, structure, a direction so the money can flow in. And that, just like how I said, and when you're in a commodity space consciously, your quote unquote business is running through the same level of messiness. It's the same thing, only opposite. So now your external structure, your external architecture is a sheer reflection of the cleansiness and the structure of your inner architecture. And that is sexy, just so you know. That is sexy for somebody like me who likes premium. I like a clear signal. I'm not interested in getting on your link tree and seeing 5 options. I get on your website and you have 5 titles going on at the same time. You know, you're a healer, an intuitive healer, a psychic, a plant medicine woman, a man, astrologist. Like you got all these titles. I'm not interested. I shouldn't have to look at all that. There should be a clear signal as to what you do, what problem you solve, how you solve it, and then how I'm going to walk away when that is complete. So a person who functions from a premium level of consciousness, they're looking for clarity because they want to solve their problem quickly. So, with that said, if you are someone who is in the practitioner space and is learning about this and learning, okay, let me take a look at my link tree. Let me take a look at my offerings. Get clear as to who you are. Position yourself. Like, come into the center of self and focus on one, you. That's it. Within that, you become the branch, you become the trunk of all of the other branches that are a part of that centering. That's the precision of sovereignty. That's why I always say sovereignty is precision. So you become the anchor, the pillar. So anything that you choose to do, you're choosing from that center. You're choosing from that position of power. And now that's the people you attract in your space. There have been plenty of times when I'm thinking about, wow, I could use a class like that. Like it'd be something very specific. Because again, when you're functioning from that sovereign position of premium, you're more clear as to what you're looking for. And you're not seeking, you're just like, yeah, I could use some guidance though. Yeah, because we're always learning and we're not afraid to learn. We're masterful students. Like you want to learn, you want to continue to learn. And so then I get on Instagram, YouTube, and boom, here's a teacher, here's a mentor that is telling me literally exactly what I'm looking for. It's spot on. It's on, it's like it lands. It is, again, precision. And I don't need to look at 5 other videos. I don't need to go to their website. I don't need to research all that. That video, whatever, a minute, 15 minutes, whatever it is, I'm already clicking the button to go ahead and buy whatever course, whatever container, because that is the synchronicity in play. It is the syncing. It's like, why would I miss an opportunity on that? Now, you may be wondering and saying, oh, well, wonder if I can't afford it. The synchronicity is there, but then you're asking yourself, wonder if I can afford it. Or you go to their page and you're like, yeah, I don't have that. Those are dead end statements. Anytime when you say you can't afford, I don't have that, it's too expensive, you are literally just telling yourself and your field that you are not enough. And so you will continue to experience life in the lack of what not enough is. So instead of dead end sentences and statements like that, you empower yourself, you reframe and say, how can I afford this? What can I do to make more money? So when this opportunity comes back around, it may come back around, it may not, just so you know. But either way, you're not interested in missing out on another opportunity. You're done. And so you know now you learn to make moves based upon the becoming of the premium self. Now you structure your business, your pricing, you start to move in a way to tell yourself, I'm ready. And so that way, when opportunities come, you're able to click on that button and sign up with no problem. And it only grows from there. It doesn't stop. You keep going. So the opportunity could have been for $100. He's like, okay, I got $100, click. Then you're in a space of a webinar, a masterclass. They're going to offer you something at the end. That's how it usually goes. And that is like strategic. That's how it should go. You should not just do a webinar and not offer something at the end. So I'm already like prepared for that. And then they get to the offering. Offering is luxe, it's elegant, it's hitting all the feels, and it's $50,000, something like that. And that's the test. And you can either sink into, oh man, I can't afford it. Or if you have it, click on that button, buy. Or you reframe and say, okay, I see. I see that there's more for me to do. So let me get focused. Let me reorganize. Because the next time this happens, I'm going to make sure I have the money. And any other opportunity beyond that, I'm going to make sure. So this is how money becomes a tool in your life. And there is this psychological sickness around money in the spiritual community. Have we gotten better over the last 2-3 years? Let me know in the chat if you think we have gotten a little better. That just came up. I would say some of us, the veil has been lifted. So there's some of us, yes. And not everybody is going to see it for what it is. And that's okay. So when you're functioning from a level of understanding of oneself, you stop comparing yourself to everybody else. There is no competition. Because there's nobody else like you. And so when you walk into rooms, when you speak, when you talk, when you are making these offerings, whatever it is that you're doing, when you're just functioning in life, know that your life is a gift. Know that whatever it is that you've been sitting on is an opportunity for you to become that person that you see in your visions, that you see other people living. And so those reflection points, as I call them, are reminders that you can do it too. And so you stop being triggered and you let those reflection points ignite something in you to keep going. So let me just pause real quick and look at comments here. Marie, you said, hey Marie, I think there is more awareness around it. Yeah, I do agree. There is more awareness around people seeing the disconnection. Absolutely. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing because it shows that consciousness is changing as a collective. I left the five-star spa industry for this reason. Mostly women in the space, and it was very competitive and toxic. The opposite of a healing space. I outgrew it and started my business. Beautiful. Yep. Milani, that's that girl. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's, again, you get tired. That's when you know you that woman. You just that type of woman. Like my dad always says, I'm built different, right? And some of us are here to be the change makers. Some of us are here to naturally set an example. We're not chasing to lead anybody. It's just how we operate. Because if there wasn't people that inspired you throughout your life, then we're not really doing our jobs here as human beings, as far as I'm concerned. We're all about walking each other home, as Ram Dass says. So if Ram Dass said, may he rest. So if there weren't, I'm gonna just name the people that I looked up to, um, that changed the way I thought about things. One of them was Oprah. Love me some Oprah. And I see she's really out there right now. She's speaking her truth. She's speaking some wisdom. She talking about ancestors and everything. Love it. But she was for a lot of Black women who felt that calling of being successful. She was our reminder. And it's not only Black women she touched a lot of women's lives. And of course, there's a lot to be said, you know, conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah. But on the level of success she had started way before her actual success. And that was through her choice making and her mindset. And again, another woman who goes against the grain and gets beaten down by other women. So we tend to have this habit about ourselves. It's a behavior. And there was Janet Jackson. There was so many I could name, you know, that just really was at the forefront of being this powerful woman. And so some of us are meant to be in those positions to ignite the movement of that. And so your tribe can't be weak, you know? They can't be functioning from a lack of a whole bunch of insecurities and, I gotta always hold your hand. Like any of my students know, I'm not doing that. But I am going to empower you in a way where to remind you, you could get up, right? Like by yourself. So, you could take that breath and just come back. You know that you have a choice. They're just called pointings back to self. And I would say that's my level of hand holding. Because what I see in the women that I attract are powerful women that got maximum potential to go all the way to the top of what they see, what they vision, what they dream of. So I'm going to nurture that. That's what I'm going to nurture. And that takes a strong person. And that also takes me continuously working on myself. And like I said, you can't take people places that you've never been. So as a leader, again, I'm going to say this again because spiritual people like, oh, I'm not trying to be led by nobody. Listen, it's not about being led by anybody, but it is about honoring someone who is where you desire to be and know that there's work in between. And that person will give you all of them, well, not all of them selves, but will provide you with the tools that are necessary for you to go to the other side. That person deserves their flowers. That person deserves whatever, how much they are stating, what that's going to look like. That person deserves it. And leaders know that the reason why there is so much wisdom is because we made a lot of mistakes, a lot of mistakes. So that's why we could share from the precision. We share from the surgical precision so that way you don't have to do all that. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for precision, proximity, and acceleration. And then if you're the type of person who I have heard this, I just want to do it my way. Okay, well then good luck with that. Thinking you could do it by yourself. Good luck with that. And then you're serving people. Tell me how that works. Tell me how that works. Doesn't make sense to me. You want people to replenish your bowl, but you don't want to invest in your own? Tell me how that works. It doesn't. People like that who are self-absorbed in some way, they're not serving from a place of truly desiring to impact people's lives. They're serving from a place of selfishness to feed theirs. So they can say, I'm right. I know. And there's also a level of fear of surrender. I remember when I first did Ashtanga yoga. For anybody who knows what Ashtanga yoga is, it is a very vigorous yoga. And I was interested in doing it from a place of the Mysore style, which is where you go and the teacher hands you one or two postures at a time. And you do those one or two postures, how many times they say, and then you go into rest, Shavasana. You lay down, and guess what? Your practice is over. And you had to wait until the teacher said it was your time to move on to the next posture. Because there's a rhythm, there's a system at play that is respected. that a stronger teacher has been trained in. And boy, someone who comes from a level of, I know what I'm doing, I know I'm right. It was hard for a lot of folks up in there. The ego was shattered, and that was the whole point. And even for myself, I chose to be in that space, and it was because I chose to be guided. I chose to surrender to a teacher because I knew that was in that state, that was the way to my next evolution. And so that process before you cross over the threshold is where the work really is. And going in there, after maybe a few months, had 2, 3 poses, going into the Mysore space. It's early, Mysore began at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. And I'm like thinking, okay, so I have done this so many times. I'm gonna get my pose today. And she would just tell me, Tahira, do the first 2 postures in Shavasana and you're done. It's like, come on, man. Come on. So we're not perfect. We all have that part of ourselves, that ego, if you will, that says, I'm ready. So let's do it. But you submit it and you surrender to someone that actually is way ahead of you in their practice. And so that's the same thing when it comes to any type of mentorship. They make it look easy, but the work in between, what? And my teacher, I mean, she would tell us, the injuries she had received, the pressure, the ego deaths she had to move through. So again, there's this connection. And going back to how I began this conversation, when you are a woman who feels like you're in a space where you seem to always be the one that says the truth, that carries a certain level of confidence, strength, structure, you are in your inner world evolving, developing, growing. You are meant to be a leader. You are meant to be a bridge for others to cross, not to use you, not to absorb you, not to manipulate you, but for you to position yourself as the lighthouse, as the pillar. And there are teachers and guides along your way that, if they are in alignment with their sovereignty, they're going to just cultivate and activate that inside of you to continue. So I say, be too much. Be the villain. If that's what people want to call you, so be it. Learn to be comfortable with yourself. Because even if you have attempted to like shrink yourself and put yourself in this little box, guess what? People got something to say about you even in there. So you might as well go ahead and just be yourself and know that there are women out here who applaud you, who love you, who desire to be in spaces with you, because that's how we really build as sisters. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.